Hi, my name is Emily Sanders-Whiteley. I am a intern at the Vonnegut Museum and Library. I'm working on a variety of projects. That includes the series of videos that's being uploaded to the Vonnegut Museum's YouTube channel in September for Banned Book Week. Throughout the videos, you'll see a variety of people who work with the Vonnegut Museum talk about what their favorite banned or challenged book is and why they love it. This video is me doing the same thing for myself. So what I chose as my favorite banned or challenged book is really more a series of books, but it is Neil Gaiman's Sandman comics. I first discovered Sandman, I'm not entirely sure when. It was at some point in the middle of the years directly preceding high school. I already knew about Neil Gaiman because Coraline had traumatized me at a very early age. I had sworn I was never going to read it again, and then I went back and fell absolutely in love with it, and it remains one of my favorite stories now. I had just gotten into the goth subculture and a bunch of new authors, and one of the names I kept seeing float around was Neil Gaiman. So I was like, this guy seems right up my alley. Everything I've read from him, every adaptation of his work I've seen has been great, and everybody keeps saying The Sandman is his masterpiece. So I'm going to go back and read these comics. So I started reading them around that time. A few years later, in the middle of high school, is when I really went back and started from the very beginning with the first collection, the first volume, which is Preludes and Nocturnes, and then kept working my way through. I'm now to, I believe this is volume 11. So it's taken me years to get through these, but I've been enjoying them so much ever since I started. Sandman, for those who don't know, is loosely based on an early DC Comics superhero, but what it is really about is these beings called the Endless, which, as their name suggests, are eternal, and they are concepts that dominate human life across space, time, cultures. Dream, the Sandman, is the main character, but you also have death, desire, despair, destruction, delirium, and a lot of other words that start with D, and each one is a character who's personified in a way that's kind of mercurial, but still has a distinctive personality, and all of them have fantastic character dynamics, but you also see the characters whose lives they're affecting, and that spans space and time. So you get stories that are very much set in the contemporary world with contemporary characters, but you also get a retelling of the Greek myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, or you get characters from Norse myths, or you get a story that's set almost entirely in hell. And because the main character is Dream, you get stories that go beyond the bounds of reality even, that take place in the dreaming world and the waking worlds throughout. And conceptually, I find that really interesting, but Gaiman also uses that to address really human things. Because these characters are doing things within the dreaming, you get to see what their sort of deepest fears and traumas and wishes are in this sort of abstract mythological form, and you're able to address that. I think it's important that Sandman is read because Gaiman really makes an effort to include characters that are not of his experience as a cisgender, heterosexual, white man. One of my first experiences of reading a transgender character was in the volume of Sandman called A Game of You, in which there's a trans woman named Wanda, and she defends who she is and her right to exist against literal gods within the story as people are dying all around her, and it was a very empowering thing to see for me, also as a trans woman. That's just one of many examples. There are a variety of other LGBTQ characters. There are characters of various races and cultures. Again, Gaiman is dealing with a wide variety of mythologies spanning the world, and as with any author, because that's not his experience, a lot of people have pointed out that he doesn't get it right all of the time, and I think he's aware of that, and he's said that he, one, wants to learn from his mistakes as he goes on, but two, that he wants in future adaptations, such as the Netflix series that came out recently, for writers who do have those experiences to be in the writer's room helping create those stories again. So I believe he said that whenever the Netflix series gets to A Game of You, that he'd love to have actual trans people in the writer's room writing characters like Wanda. The Sandman has been censored or challenged within especially schools due to allegations of pornography, and these books do deal with violence and they do deal with sexuality. One of the personified characters in the stories is Desire. I don't feel like any of the scenes that are violent in Sandman are violent for the sake of gratuity and enjoying violence in any way. They're always very upsetting, and there's always some sort of issue that they are trying to confront through the violence, it feels like. And similar with the more erotic scenes in this. There aren't many. They aren't particularly explicit, but when they are, there's usually some underlying unhappiness or difficulty or trauma that's being dealt with through that. And I feel like it's especially important for people, especially as they're growing up and confronting violence and confronting experiences of sexuality in the world, to know that those things exist and that they aren't ideal all the time, and that there is going to be hard and horrific and potentially traumatic things in their life, and that there's a way to deal with that through this more fantastical, escapist story. That's why I love Sandman. That's why I think it's very important that stories like Sandman stay accessible to readers and uncensored for readers. That really extends to why I feel like books like the many that you see behind me on the Vonnegut Museum's Freedom of Expression bookcase stay accessible to people anywhere and everywhere, because people need writing to deal with their experiences in the world in a way that's healthy and safe. People need stories sometimes to escape from the hardships of the world, and especially in the case of something like Sandman, where there's representation of marginalized identities, people often need stories to know that they're not alone in what they're going through. I know I needed that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please watch the other videos in this banned book series whenever they get uploaded, and please keep reading and know that there are stories for you out there and that you're not alone.